All right. Hello. How are y'all doing out there in the world? It's the World Wide Web, so it's the world. People over the pond, the other side of the lake, or in Scotland, as I've been told before where I was at. Not in Scotland, here in Texas. You are with the Texas Coalition Against Data Centers, Texas Connect, or Chat with TA, and I'm still TA. And today we got some special guests here, and we're going to be talking about a very important topic. We're going to talk about data centers and the environment. All right. We're going to get started here in a minute. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. How about that? See, I'm not going to talk the whole time.
Hello, I'm Heidi Markham. I have my PhD in wildlife management, and my sister and we jointly own 200 acres very close to where the data center is going to be built on Katy Lane in Waco, Texas. So we have a invested interest in protesting these data centers because they are going to irreparably damage the lifestyle that we have chosen over the last 35 years.
And I'm Heidi's sister. And just to clarify, we are Army brats. We ended up in Texas almost 40 years ago when Dad retired out of Fort Hood. And we chose this area because where the data center is going to be built, very close to it, because it was so quiet and so peaceful and pastoral, and there was woods and there was meadows and there was friendly people and there were people from all walks of life there, and we found a home for ourselves. And now we're very scared it's going to be taken away from us based on what's going to happen with the data centers.
All right. How did y'all find out about the data center? I mean, when do you remember when you first heard somebody even say data center?
Yeah. In November of 2025. Before that, I had absolutely no idea that data centers existed. And I was going through Facebook and saw a map of my area where I lived. And I said, what? So I looked and I said, wait a minute, it's a 500-acre proposed data center that's going to happen a mile from our home. And so we started digging into it, and the more we dug into it, the worse the news got.
Mm. So when you say the worse the news got, what scares you the most about the data center being close to y'all?
It is such a complicated issue because people say this is inevitable. We've got to have these data centers, but what we're learning is that not only is there the energy use and the water use, which Texas is water limited, so it's going to be a problem. But it's, from my perspective, the loss of habitat for wildlife, the impacts of the noise and the light pollution on not only livestock but on our rescue horses and on dogs that live in the area. The disruption of the environment that we depend on, and also of our society, of our close-knit community, the disruption.
I think I'm the same way. We got 300 acres, and there's obviously deer out there and coyotes and wolves and other things. And that sound that you mentioned is going to be really bad on those type animals for sure. And it's probably going to, you're the expert, it's going to probably change the birth rates and things of that nature also with the farm and ranch part too.
Oh, sure. I did read a study not too long ago that livestock, cattle, are being negatively impacted by this chronic noise that these data centers emit. Human sleep patterns are being affected. People are feeling stressed, and the animals are feeling stressed. So there are going to be profound implications for ranchers who are trying to breed their cattle. Behavioral changes are going to affect not only the livestock but the wildlife. If they're not happy in their environment, they're going to be stressed. They won't behave normally. And what worries me, a big component of what worries me, is this perpetual light. It's going to be daylight at night, and animals that depend on these night-day patterns, it's going to be day for 24 hours a day, basically, and that is going to profoundly affect their behavior.
I can see where that affects people too, because even up in the other part of the the world where it's light for 6 months at a time. We know there's plenty of studies for those. The other thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if any of y'all noticed, but even before we get the data center built, we have all that construction that's going on that's upsetting nature as it goes, and also upsetting people and the things that are going on. I found one instance where the construction companies were using so many frequencies for the dump trucks and communicating radios that it was upsetting heart monitors and the telemetry equipment to get it back to third parties about what was going on with their heart, whether it be at a hospital or that third party to their cardiologist people. So, I mean, there's lots of pieces, even as it's being built, that's complicated to the people and the environment. And so the impact on y'all's horse rescue is going to be devastating, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So,
We did get the horse rescue because these animals we've got 35 now. They had tough lives, and so we just wanted to give them a good life for the rest of their life, and we're concerned about them because they don't deserve this. You know, we're talking right now about animals, but I also know that the people are going to be devastated in the area. But because we're talking about animals, we not only have horses, we have dogs, and we have many cats that have been rescued, and we have the wildlife that is there. We, on a daily basis, see possums and raccoons and squirrels. And I have a pair of vultures that come every day and visit. You know, they do. They land on my, of course, I have cat food out, so they also eat that. But I look at everybody and I say, it's not fair to you. This is your home too. So that concerns us a lot, along with our neighbors. And
I got a friend of mine that's not too far from right there. He's kind of on Katy Lane as you're going up to Ross. He says that he's got some bald eagles, is what he calls them. I mean, I'm not sure he's an expert, but that's what they look like to him. He says they're on his place, and he goes, I don't understand how they're not talking about environmental studies and impact studies and all this stuff. And, he's just your average guy. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering the same thing. I mean, where were all these studies and things done before as they bought the property, if that's what they're going to do with it? I mean, we're not seeing them. And I know Big Tech's going to say it's proprietary information and but I guarantee you there's lots of universities that if you look up in the geology and environmental studies departments already have things about flood zones and flood plains. This particular one is in a 100-year floodplain alone. And so if you're going to build something like that, you got to take in consideration that 100-year floodplain when you're building it alone. I mean, you can't say it's just wear and tear later when you've already been told about it, and there's studies out there that have been done by people way before data centers, so it's not been tampered with. So that confuses me a little bit. And in this particular one, I've mentioned it before, if just this one in Ross, if it leaks and they say they're going to go through White Rock Creek with white enchanted rock that fractures, and that goes all the way down to Washington on the Brazos, where we signed the independence, and Brenham, a home bluebell, if you will, and then all the way down to Fort Bend County and Richmond State Supported Living Center right there, where they have clients with disabilities, and we don't want nobody like that getting into contaminated water, and then out into Matagorda Bay, where we do have endangered species over there.
Yeah, the whooping cranes.
Yes. Yeah. I don't always get that right, but I have an expert today to make sure I get the right name and species and everything else. And then in as I like to say lately, the Gulf of whatever we're calling it. But that one out of 461, hundreds of these would infect, I would say, half of Texas as it goes down through, passing all those cities and things. To me, that seems just extremely dangerous that we're not doing more about this.
And the local communities were not consulted. It was, I read it on Facebook, and that was it. And we knew nothing about it. It was completely in secret, behind closed doors. The decisions that were made, we have no say. And Mary, say what you were talking about, the outsiders and the...
Yeah, we found out the 500 acres were bought by non-Americans, and they're doing a deal with a mayor that's not even our mayor. And we're finding out this is all being foisted on us. It's like we're being sucker punched. And then when we're speaking out against it, it's like, just accept it. It's going to happen. Just accept it. And we can't do that because I grew up thinking that as Americans, we all have a say because it's we the people, and they're trying to shut we the people up. And it just seems like big money and those driving AI have the upper hand right now, and it feels like a very perilous place to be where we're not just little corks bobbing along on the river. We have a say because this is our home too. And we're Americans too, and we pay taxes and we do everything right and we abide by the law. And it just seems like we're losing this battle. So I'm here today also trying to find out from talking to the smart guys what can we do as individuals to stop this from happening? Because a lot of people's lives will be affected by it very negatively. I'm sure there will be people making a lot of money off of it, but that's not why we live here. We live here for our quality of life, and we need to stop this. So that's why I've been picking their brains about what can we do. We're so little, and we don't have the money that they do.
And all that is true. I try to remind people, you do have options, and we the people still have some. If you think, and hopefully this video gets out to at least the first people I'm going to say is the citizens of Lacey Lakeview. I don't think y'all had a say so either. I think y'all were just as blindsided about what was going on with the city council and big tech and the stakeholders that are involved, and even the other county people, and we pointed that out in another video. I think you need to really consider the word recall and really get that paperwork from your city folks and look at the charters and bylaws like they've done in other cities. And that's one way to take back your city. I mean, if you think they failed you, I mean, this is a chance. And if you think other people involved, Pat Curry, passed to help get legislation through to streamline what is now called the people's veto. So now you can remove an elected county official, and unlike a recall for a home rule city, it only takes one person in the complaint, and that's it. And then if they do so think it's necessary, the regional judge will remove that person from office until after the hearing and the determination is made, either right or wrong. So we still have some things that we can do. But as I like to tell everybody, even though big tech has a lot of resources, a lot of money, like you said, where I say chat with TA, I mean, the conversation is free. I mean, we need to keep talking about this, and we need to keep getting the information out to the public. And that's what we're doing here today, is having a conversation about the environment and how it impacts you. I mean, I know it's going to impact me because, I mean, if that creek becomes contaminated, I mean, that's contaminating. I mean, right now, a lot of us use that creek to, it's water that we use for our cows and horses, and that's not going to be available. I mean, if they put a pipe through there, I don't want my animals or anything near it by any chance. I mean, and that may be even cutting off my own head because there's 30 acres on the other side of the creek. So, I mean, then that's going to be almost landlocked.
Right.
Can I ask you, what is it going to do to the temperature, like during the summers?
Well,
what will this type of data center do?
I can honestly say this week, all we're talking about in Texas, especially right here in the middle of Texas, even though they say Austin is the big thing, I say Waco is geographically the middle. But we're at hundreds. That's all they're saying, 99 or 100. But the ambient temperature around these, they're saying it's going up 16 degrees. So, I mean, 116 degrees. And, I mean, that's the ambient temperature around one of them. Imagine several of these that are close together, like Abbott. There's like Homo Willie Nelson, the other long-haired hippie guy, activist.
Well, we can go in there.
There's two up there. So imagine 16, and they're hundreds of acres. I mean, even bigger than the one we're talking about at 520. But they all say one thing. Now, this is the fun part. They all say in the pitch, as I call it, on their websites, I don't care which data center it is, it's expandable. Well, I'm going to tell you, the reason it's expandable is I don't think anybody wants to live around one.
Right.
And nobody can have a life around one. Nobody can have animals around one. I mean, who would want to be around one? I would suggest that the people that want these, maybe they need to go spend at least 1 week next to one. That would be my thoughts. And then come back and tell me what you think.
Right.
And the people that are trying to put some in, we've done some research on that. And some of those people that want them in are going to probably sell their land next to it and make a pretty penny. And I'm not even sure there'll be an office when all this is said and done.
Yeah.
They, and I mean, my next question is, data centers don't vote. We, the people, vote. If we all have to move, who's voting for you? I mean, that's a good question. I'm not sure they're seeing the bigger picture even.
And I think that part of our responsibility is to become informed about this issue.
Exactly.
And then to convert being informed into action.
Exactly.
And one of the things we can do is look at the candidates and literally, those that are running for office, and literally say, put them on the spot and say, where do you stand?
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Stop riding the rails. Either you're for the people in this area or you're for foreigners or outsiders destroying our homes and our lives. Who are you for?
Exactly. Because when we're sitting here talking about the environment and things, I've talked to some other professors or retired professors. One of the entomologists he's extremely worried about the migration of the monarch butterfly, and I know everybody's pretty familiar with that one for sure. And it comes through this area.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I'm not understanding any other projects up to this point. We consider all those factors, and we have things that we look at, and it seems like we're trying to bypass a whole lot of steps.
Right. And go ahead.
Isn't there also a light dome that goes over these data centers?
Yeah, that like she mentioned, that light is going 20. They'll say, well, we're going to tilt them, or we're going to do this, or whatever. But there's still ambient light that's coming from them. And I mean, this it's still to the animals. It's still, they don't have a watch. It's still daytime.
Right.
And I mean, it's not changing for them. And I mean, it's not changing for people that are around them. I know, like up in the other counties where they have Bitcoin ones that are going, because there's all different types when you get into gigawatts and what size they are over here on this side and how much water they use. And then there's types over here on this side, a Bitcoin that kind of runs for a little while, and it will shift into another mode, and then it goes right back to running to hyper AI data centers way up north in the part of Texas that they're putting in. That's artificial intelligence, supposedly, and supposedly we have to have it. Again, artificial intelligence, AI, in 1945 was a term that was coined at a college university, and it was a marketing term to get money to do the little project. So AI originally was a marketing term. And it's still, I would say, a marketing term because it's algorithms and other things, and you're still putting information in it, and you're still asking it for something. So it's still somewhat a marketing term. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some AI computers that they've made algorithms where it can do a few things or whatever, and they so far have ran amok, and it's always been a dangerous situation.
Right.
So I say HI is better than AI. Human intelligence is better than artificial intelligence any day of the week.
And we have to have regulations in place to put guardrails up and to literally say we're not going to convert our agricultural areas into these AI centers that are going to destroy the entire area. And one of the things that irritates me is when people say, well, just move. Just move. Mary, do you want to just move?
No.
And the next part is, I'm going to ask you, where are you going to go?
Right.
I mean, even if they give you a bunch of money, this is happening all over the United States. And I've talked to people in Germany through Washington, D.C., where they had an office, and I've been helping them with policy. They're having the same problem over there. This year in March, they had, for the folks over there in the United Kingdom, I see you too, y'all had March Against Machines over there about the data centers. So, I mean, this is a worldwide problem, not just here. And then when they say, and I may put her on the spot here, we don't have no scripts. I'm going to remind y'all that again. So whatever happens, happens. They said, well, we're going to put them in the ocean. I'm not saying I know everything, but I do know a little bit about a lot of stuff, as they say. If you put it in the water, I think that's going to change the ambient temperature of the water. Therefore, you're going to change up how the amino and everything else flows, and the seasonal patterns are going to change. And some of those fish and stuff in that would probably die.
Well, yeah, and if
you start changing that.
And what we see is an area, for example, in Florida where the manatees are. They congregate around the waters that are warmed by dumping power plant cooling water. You know,
Yes.
water's used to cool, then the engines, and then the water's dumped into the coastal areas, and the manatees hang around. Well, if something happens to that warm water to where the facility is shut down, the manatees freeze because all of a sudden the water's cold. So absolutely, animals could go into thermal shock.
Yeah.
And just by changing the temperature, we're talking about changing the temperature of the ocean now.
Yeah.
You know, come on.
I mean, and then that gets into the whole ice and everything else. I mean, obviously, if you're changing the whole temperature, that goes all the way up into our poles and stuff like that. So now we're back into that whole discussion about the environment itself is in danger. Now, of course, I have made a solution. I did say something in February, it's off the cuff thing. And I said we should put them on the moon in the dark crater that doesn't get any light and it will be cold. And then put a solar panel on the other side. And then that would get you the electricity and beam the information with a laser back to Texas or wherever you want to go with the information. I did say that. But then I should have copyrighted that because then Elon Musk said, hey, a couple months later, we're going to do SpaceX and try to put them on the moon. That's again, I just lost out on the whole thing there.
I've been thinking a lot about this AI since we were going to be asked to be on here. And AI is a trade-off. People say you really need it, but we have to be careful what we're trading it off for because will it be better or worse? And I'm getting the sense that it's going to be a lot worse. And I was reading about the owners of some AI companies, and they said even they don't know how it really works and how to control it. And it's like, oh, that's great. What's going to happen? What if it ultimately controls you? We have to think about these things because it is a huge trade-off, and I don't want to trade my lifestyle for something just because AI is being pushed on me because we have to keep ahead of the Chinese. And that's the big push right now. We have to do this. We have to do this. Not sure we have to. Or at least if we do, we have to do it in a much more responsible manner.
Yeah, I didn't read that article, but there is a gentleman here in McLennan County that has been in front of the city boards and stepped up and talked in public places. I'm not going to mention his name, but you can go on to some of the city council meetings around here, and he's talked, and he is in that business, and he says he's in kind of the plug and play, putting all this information in there, and he says, we don't know what it's doing. We have no clue how that's after we put the information in. And I will say that, as you say about that, the information that's being put in, we did it in another segment. I'm here today off camera. It's usually the other person that's here with me, Miriam. She's off camera. So we're all still here today. But she mentioned before, and in several places, they are taking books and they are tearing the books up and feeding the computers the information and just getting rid of the books.
And then shredding the pages.
Yeah. They're just gone. And I mean, I try to say stuff, like the 1945 thing from the historical part of the AI starting. And I mentioned before, it's kind of like the oil boom in the 1900s up in Wichita Falls and Burke Burnett, same kind of thing. That ended up with the governor calling in the National Guards and the Texas Rangers. I mean, when you start talking about history and repeating itself, and we're supposed to learn, when you start telling me that we're tearing up books and burning books and stuff like that, that sounds like almost even another segment for a religious part, crusades almost. I mean, some of this gets a little scary.
We are, and I think the one thing that Mary said was, people say this is inevitable, just deal with it, lay back and enjoy it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not willing to give my choice of lifestyle up just so somebody can use AI instead of thinking for themselves.
Yeah.
And these data centers, we survived without them for fine. I mean, the last 10 years we didn't have this big huge problem, and we were fine on Facebook. So this is not inevitable, but we've got to stop it before it happens, because once they're built, too bad, so sad.
Yeah. And I know this is not particularly her area of expertise, but I've talked to her before about those algorithms. If you have one of them, whether it's your phone or your computer tablet or whatever you use to get on to the internet, and especially your phone, and you start asking it questions, unless you cut off certain algorithms on your phone, it's going to start reinforcing what you want. Once you look up something and it starts showing it again and again, I'm sure sometimes you can go, say a word or something, cabbage. Next thing I know, I'm looking at my phone and I'm seeing all these cabbages ads and how to make cabbage and all this stuff. And I'm like, clearly the thing's eavesdropping on me. That's why I like to keep it in my pocket. Maybe it's muffled enough it won't say as much. and also some of these phones, in my particular case, and it's my life, so I can mention it, some of these phones can give you a rash or cause problems, because if you think about these things as a data center itself, this little thing, it can leak, and it has done to me, and I've had to take medication. It can leak lithium and cadmium and all that stuff, and this is just one, and it's causing me problems, and it's caused it more than once. That's how come you don't have these phones with batteries where you take them in and out anymore. That's why it changed. Now imagine this is a data center with the heat dome that we're talking about and all that stuff leaking out into your neighborhood. I mean, I think that makes a good impact maybe on people when you can see something like that. Now, I suggest you go to wherever your data center is, whether it's here in Texas or in Kentucky or Nashville or wherever it's at, and go look at them being built and see how massive they are, and think about all those chemical things that are in this one, and on a much bigger scale in your neighborhood with your kids and your family, and so forth as that, and your definitely animals and things in your neighborhood. Because like I said, when I was in school, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all probably had the same speech, food, clothing, and shelter. That's what we used to say, right? I mean, if 18,000 farmers were without a job before data centers, now we're going to have twice as many because they want our farm and ranch land. And so I'm going to say meat production and crop production is going to shrink for sure. And then obviously water is a big issue, and electricity is a big issue. And if you're up north in Texas here, we make cotton, there. And I know the cotton guys are talking about the water scarce up there. I mean, I kind of like my blue jeans. I kind of like my Harley shirts or whatever I'm wearing today. It's first responders, because if these things go up, those first responders are going to have a heck of a job trying to respond to them, because there's nobody that's equipped right now to deal with any of these across the state, if any of these catch on fire or leak or anything else. So, I mean, that's something to think about. Food, clothing, and shelter. It's going to affect all of us in our environment.
Yeah, and the size. This is 500 acres, and isn't there one in Hubbard that's 2,000? Is that right?
Yes.
2,000 acres?
And they're still wanting to put more over there.
I mean, guys, imagine 2,000 acres of a data center. And then the one that is, I forget in what state, they swore that they would not use water from the Colorado River, and now they're suing to get access to the water from the Colorado River. They're not even following their own contracts.
Yeah. And the worst part to me is we had the Natural Resource Committee meeting, and Ms. Gonzalez was on that from El Paso, representative, and they said only 17% actually report anything. And in my opinion, it's self-reporting data, the lowest level that you can get.
Right.
So, I mean, who knows if they're, my slow speech, they got a pitch, I got a pitch. It only seems fair, right?
Yes.
Backdoor deals and shenanigans is going on. Why do you think I want to believe that whatever they're telling me is true? Because it hasn't been yet.
Right.
So when you tell me you got self-reporting data, I'm going to do the same thing I did the other day. I only ate 2 candy bars today.
Can I ask you a question? What is the longevity of these things?
Well, that's the interesting part, and I've talked about it before to several people. If you think about coolant right now, everybody's talking about water. Well, first I'm going to tell you they need water for the foundation. Then they need water for the building. Then they're going to need water for fixing the ceiling. Then we're going to get to the water for the electricity side. Then we're going to get to water for the gas-powered generator side. And then the water we're talking about usually is to cooling the chip part. That's 5 waters before we got to cooling the chips. So when you ask me about longevity, there's other people right now that are using solution type stuff. And I don't mean to say like radiator fluid in your car, but as you know, professors and instructors and people would say, you're changing the boiling point of a fluid to make sure it's cooler to use. I mean, I know nitrogen turns steel to peanut brittle. I mean, I know we can't use that. That's
Yeah.
pretty cold. But I mean, there are other stuff. But I would dare say that might cut into the profits because I mean, we got salt water that we could recycle, but you'd have to take the salt out of the water because if not, that'd cause too much corrosion and eat into my profits
Well,
if
and
I'm
it's
big
expensive.
tech. And yeah,
But-
it's expensive.
But if
So
Elon Musk is correct in saying that these are going to be obsolete
in 10 years, yes, 10 years. That's
what
what
happens to all these thousands and thousands of acres of data centers? What happens to these?
The only
buildings?
thing that I can think of is you got a building with no windows or anything. We're going to have a lot of monolith cemeteries. I mean, I don't know what else to use them for because by then, and she's the expert to tell you, I mean, you've already destroyed the environment
Right.
with concrete and ground, and you've already displaced the wildlife and everything else. It's going to take a long, slow process to get the environment back. And that's even if
Right.
you try to tear the things back down.
Yeah, it'll be covered in concrete,
Yeah.
and the animals will be gone, and the vegetation will be gone, and the phase, an additional phase, is now the federal government is allowing data centers to be planned to be built on our land, on public property. And so again, it's a private company that's not necessarily American,
Yes.
earning a lot of money on our land and destroying our land.
And like you said, the longevity of it, if it's so great, why can't we just push pause on it for a minute?
Right.
If it's so great, we push pause on it, get real data, get real information, do some real studies like they've done over across the pond, as I always call it, and make some real policies based on some real information instead of, oh, I think this is great.
Right. And it has to be comprehensive because I believe Governor Abbott did put some guidelines out that with water and energy use, but there was nothing that I saw that had to do with the light pollution, with the pollution from caused by light
Yes.
and the noise pollution.
Yes, much less the smog and all that other stuff. I mean, some of these foreign countries, they don't have those particular regulations. In India, if anybody's been there, you can say you can't see the sky during the daytime
Right.
because of the pollution. And India is one of specifically the one we're talking about is the one in Ross, is India based. And the worst part is, if you've ever done a project before, any kind of project, I don't even care if it's something in your backyard that you build or whatever, for animals or whatever, you got a lessons learned afterwards because you usually mess something up. Well, I know I do. And it takes me 3 or 4 times before I get it right and I can do it without messing something up. This company that's putting the one in the Ross area, that Lacey Lakeview and Mayor Wilson and the county judge and some other folks that were cherry picked, and that's for another video. You can go back and watch that. They've never built one before,
Right.
never. So
Right.
I don't think I want somebody half-heartedly trying to put in a data center that don't know what they're doing.
Right. Isn't it projected to cost $10 billion? Is that right, this data center?
They're talking about, at one point they were saying they're going to make $10 billion, and 1 minute they said it was going to cost almost that, and then next thing you know, in one meeting that Mayor Wilson had, oh, we're going to make a multi-layered district so we can keep the money here. Well, the other day they tried to get rid of an ag district, which I was trying to make sure that we had in this county, so that at least we could have local food and things that we need here. They said, no, we can't have any more districts, but yet he's trying to make one for the data center. The same people that said they can't have no more government control.
Right.
And ours was literally just to help farm and ranchers and help we the people be able to eat here. Because if they keep putting them in other places, I mean, I don't know where the food is going to come from. I mean, we do know that Mr. Schwab has mentioned in 2020 about eating bugs and insects and stuff. So he seems to be cherry-picked and then on the plan. And we know Bill Gates is making synthetic food, but that's not what I want. I want real food.
Right. Right. And here's another crux that kind of came back to what Mary was saying. There is a mayor in a town miles away from us that is saying, well, our little town's going to earn a lot of money, and our little community is going to be degraded. So we're suffering, and that little town is supposedly going to get millions of dollars. Well, wait a minute. What about us?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not reaping any of the benefits. And this mayor runs roughshod, and he basically said, "Hey, it's like the rain. Lay back and enjoy it. It's going to happen."
And I thought we were in Texas, and I usually use the phrase, "We the people of the U.S., us." We the people of Texas, Texans standing with Texans, we deserve better. I thought we were supposed to be doing the neighborly thing. So that's one reason. I mean, I'm not understanding what his idea of neighborly thing is by any means. I mean, I'm trying to give some of the people some options or ideas or anything we can find to discuss about this topic, to the point of going to Utah and Arizona and talking with those folks, whether it's a Zoom call or whatever, or Oklahoma and Missouri, or even Maine, where they did pass a moratorium in Maine. The whole state did. The legislature passed it. But the governor up there, the way I'm understanding, vetoed it as soon as it got to the desk. Dare say, involved with the data center and vetoed it. So, if we do call for special session, that did happen in Maine. So I am warning people, there are other options and other things we can do. That's why I do mention the home rule city, to take back your city in Lacey Lakeview. If you think that they're not being neighborly to your neighbor, or a lot of these people have relatives that are in that same area that do live in Lacey Lakeview. If you think they're not being neighborly to your family member that's up there by that recall might be something you need to talk about, in the same way with the county. Got anything else that you think you
Not
want to
really.
mention to the public? That
I think we've exhausted our.
limit of that. I will say those algorithms and things, they do reinforce negative behavior on a psychological level. I've worked with state agencies in healthcare for years, and if you got some kind of psychological issues, say schizophrenia, bipolar, or whatever, if you don't take those algorithms out, it can be devastating to your mental health. The information that's going through these data centers that didn't tell you here in your phone or through your computers. We have seen one case where a woman was told by her little chat bot to break up with her husband, and she did. She followed the chat bot and turned a little piece of paper in, said, "I'm gone." But along with that data center, it also does your car, and it didn't update her maps, and she had a collision and wreck because she was on the wrong road. And so there's lots of pieces to this puzzle about AI and interfering with your life. So it's I like to say it's like a blooming onion. If you've ever been to the Outback or one of those places, there's lots of layers to this across the board. There's even religious pieces, the environment pieces, the psychological pieces, economic pieces. It's not just one thing. We all need to, like I said, 85% of us now across the area do not want data centers in our backyards or in our neighborhoods, and we all agree we need to do some more research and have some more chat with TA or conversations with each other, at the coffee shop or amongst yourselves at home or wherever, or at universities, or wherever. We need to continue talking about this and get the message out that I don't think the people that are elected exactly have done their homework. As a professor, that's what I'm going to say. Have not done their homework.
Right. They need to be held accountable.
Yes.
And if they don't protect the people, then they can vacate their jobs and hire somebody that will.
Exactly. Well, we may have them back for some more information at a later date, but we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.